Hey everybody, this is of course nothing but a bunch of pretentious theoretical bullshit once again. I want to share an insight I had, I guess not an insight because it doesn't have to do with me, but it was based on a conversation I had with somebody. And I wanted to talk a little about that because I kind of, after that I started doing some thinking and sort of applied what I got out of that conversation theologically, which I'll explain in a minute. But we all know that there is, when it comes to intelligence, we know that there's a big difference between that and knowledge. And some people who are very knowledgeable are very unintelligent, and people who are very intelligent don't have very much knowledge. And so the two are not codependent upon one another. And intelligence seems, we all know what knowledge is. I mean, that's, it's about knowing stuff. It's about knowing facts and things. But intelligence seems to be much more about how well, how efficiently, and how quickly one can use the limited amount of facts and knowledge that they have available to them to arrive at new and different conclusions. If to say that someone is intelligent is to say that they're able to take everything that they know, everything that they can observe, and put the pieces of the puzzle together to formulate new knowledge and more knowledge. I mean, you think of the great thinkers throughout history. They didn't just know stuff that people knew before them. They were able to take what they knew, like Einstein and Newton, and formulate new conclusions based on the limited amount of knowledge that they did have. And that's what makes somebody intelligent as opposed to knowledgeable. And I started thinking about how intelligence is such a valuable and highly regarded virtue. And I started to think about other highly regarded virtues. You've got intelligence, but also courage. Courage is another one, and morality is another one. And I'll even throw in there like self-improvement. That's another respected and admired virtue. And I want to use those three or four just as my sort of like test tube examples of what it is I want to talk about, because I want to take that and apply it theologically and kind of see what we get. And I'm just rambling here, but I do want to preface this with a few things. One, I am talking about, this is not an argument for or against the existence of God. This is me pontificating, I guess, on how I would think about God if I did believe in God, if I did believe in a personal, omnibenevolent, omniscient, omnipotent, all-perfect, moral creator. Second preface is that I want to say this has nothing to do with Jesus or God becoming man, or this is just about God independently of human beings. It's about just a God existing by himself. I guess you could look at it as God before the creation happened. But let's take those attributes and let's apply those highly regarded virtues to a perfect God, and see how well God does with those. Is God intelligent? Well, not really, because you think of a God who has all knowledge available to him and has had all knowledge inherently accessible to him just because of who he is inherently from the beginning of time all the way to the end of time. A God that knows everything that can be known, has ever been known, and ever will be known. What opportunity does that being have to use reasoning or arrive at new conclusions, or to put puzzle pieces together, or to take knowledge and arrive at more knowledge and different knowledge and work things out and deduce God has no ability whatsoever to exercise intelligent thinking. Actually, if you think about it, a being who knows everything has not even an opportunity to exercise any kind of thinking, because all thinking is a thought process. It's all thinking is in a way a syllogism of, our body senses something empirically and then takes it and then uses it to formulate a conclusion, which helps us formulate another conclusion, which helps us formulate another conclusion. But if you've got a God who has all knowledge from every point of view available to him already, there is no need for that exercise. It just doesn't apply. So you've got a God who's ultimately unintelligent. And then if you were to tack on other attributes that we deem virtuous, like courage, which, courage is, the difference between courage and fearlessness is very similar to, the difference between knowledge and intelligence, insofar as fearlessness is just not having fear, but courage is about something entirely different. Courage is doing what you have to do in spite of the fact that you are afraid. I mean, nobody, there's no merit, there's no virtue in just not happening to have any fears, not being afraid of anything. But there is great virtue and great honor in being able to do what one needs to do when they are terrified and facing those fears. That's what courage is. Again, you've got an all-powerful, completely perfect being who's invulnerable in every way, and has absolutely nothing to fear. There's no opportunity to exercise courage. There may be fearlessness. God may be fearless, but God is not courageous. And then if you add another one on there, morality. Morality is a big one. But you've got, morality means something different to a human being than morality would mean to a God. Especially if you believe in God and you believe that God created morality, and that morality, by definition, is something that flows from God's very nature. God is the arbiter of what is right and wrong. Well, how can that being do something that is immoral? It's impossible. A God cannot sin against themselves, insofar as a sin is, by definition, going against their own nature. God can't go against his own nature. That would be a logical contradiction. It wouldn't be possible. So, to say that God exercises morality is, again, a worthless statement. It doesn't mean anything. So we've got a God who's not moral, or at least has no opportunity to exercise good morals, insofar as morality just means him, and by definition it's meaningless. Not moral, not intelligent, not courageous. And then if you tack on something like, that we value as human beings, like self-improvement or betterment, a perfect being can't do that either. And so I'm sure there are many other examples, but I just wanted to use those and point out the fact that it seems to me like we as human beings have a lot of qualities that we strive for and we live for and we work on and we want to be. And some of us are, and many of us achieve those qualities that God is not and will never be. You think about it, what is it about God that makes him, if I were, I'm speaking from if I were theistic perspective, what is it about the Judeo-Christian God, for example, that makes him worthy of worship when he was born with all these perfect, not born, but had always existed? There was never a point where he needed to achieve these things that we as human beings deem so virtuous and so worth achieving. You're worshiping a being who never had to work for anything, never had to suffer, never had to strive for anything, never had to better themselves, never had to figure something out or put two and two together, never had to face a fear, never had to face temptation. Again, remember I said in the beginning, I'm not talking about Jesus, I'm talking about God before any of the creation happened. But we still call God all these things that he might, he might not be. Intelligent, which he's not. Courageous, which he's not. Moral, which he's not. He's not moral. That's a silly word to use for a God who dictates what right and wrong is anyway. So I'm open to criticism and rebuttals, and I don't really think that I'm really arguing anything so much concrete as putting out an observation and an opinion, but I think there are many men on the planet who are much more worthy of respect and admiration and loyalty than God. When you look at two men, you look at both of them together, and they're both millionaires. One man was born into royalty and was born a millionaire, and the other man had to work for it his entire life and finally came from dirt poor to being a millionaire. Who do you respect more? Who do you admire more? And so that was my point. That's what I'm thinking. So, anyway, that's it. Let me know what you think. How worthy of admiration is the Christian God? All right, thanks everybody. Take care.